Sports Gamer.
Welcome, sports gamers, to another installment of the SGO Developer Spotlight. My name is Mike Strom, I'm managing editor at Sports Gamers Online, and here we have a special treat today as we are joined by Colin Smith, the president of 704 Games and NASCAR Heat. Colin, first off, thank you for joining us. Secondly, for those that may not know, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. I'm currently the president of 704 Games. We are the developer and the publisher of the NASCAR Heat franchise and the NASCAR Heat mobile game. I previously was at Motorsport Network, which is actually holds majority interest in 704 Games now. We made the investment in 704 Games last year, almost exactly a year ago today. Because we just saw a huge potential in this product, in this franchise, and also a great platform that we could create for our professional esports league that we wanted to put together with NASCAR and the teams. So I was there for a couple of years. Prior to that, I spent 5 years at NASCAR in their digital business and digital division. And so we're really excited with where we are today. We've got the NASCAR Heat 4 game coming out, launching officially on September 13th. And for about a year now, that's all we've been doing is making sure we're putting the proper resources and time and energy into getting NASCAR Heat 4 where we want it to be. This
is year 4. We'll dive right into it. This is obviously NASCAR Heat 4. This is year 4 of the NASCAR Heat series, and the growth since the first installment has been, from my perspective, incredible to watch. But when you're a small studio and you get a major license like this, you don't have the backing of an EA or 2K or any of these other major publishers. How do you go about representing the sport? How do you make sure the sport gets properly represented when, again, it is a smaller studio?
Very good point. It's the biggest challenge that we have for sure. But we lean really, really hard on the industry for support in that regard. So NASCAR proper, the teams, the drivers, the tracks, the sponsors of the NASCAR teams and the official partners of NASCAR. Everybody is really supportive of this product. Everybody really wants to see this product grow and succeed. So we would have a very difficult time doing it all on our own. But with the help of the industry, we just get a lot of intangible benefits from working with them. But it is a challenge. We're a small publisher. We're trying to keep costs in check and have very efficient, publishing and development timelines. We don't have the ability to leapfrog dev cycles like a lot of the big publishers do. So, we finish up the annual release and then we start working on next year's immediately. A lot of the bigger guys get to work a couple years in advance and we just don't have necessarily the ability to do that. So, but we've used these last 4 years. You're 100% accurate. Every year has gotten better. Every year we start to fold in more and more from the community in terms of features and the updates that they would like to see. And it's taken the company time to get there, but I think everybody is going to be really pleasantly surprised and certainly pleased with what they see with the latest installment. It's a huge upgrade from 3, and it certainly will be the best product that we've put out in the last 4 years.
Speaking of the community, it's no secret that NASCAR fans are just as passionate as any other fan base. I saw it all over social media when I first announced that I was going to be talking with you. And just in general, anytime there's a bit of news, people just want more. But some of the feedback, and I like to ask this question because there's some fans in the community that give very constructive feedback that's useful. And then there's some that just want to harp on the negative or say this game sucks type of feedback with nothing else to it. As a studio, how do you sift through that? How do you guys has just thick skin kind of been developed, sort of, or how do you handle when you get that mixture of feedback?
Well, it's not too new to me. I mean, when I was at NASCAR, we launched the new website there and the new digital platform, the new mobile apps, and it's no different. Everybody is going to have their opinions, and you're right. A lot of it is very constructive criticism and feedback, and we certainly take that to heart. But you certainly can't please everyone, and you always have to take the good with the bad. But I would say, 85 to 90% of the feedback that we get is constructive. And, to be fair to a lot of the folks that have contacted us, the earlier games definitely needed some work, right? And there were some high expectations. I mean, EA had the game for a long time, and there were some great titles that were done in the past, and and I think to some people maybe those earlier titles didn't necessarily live up to those expectations, but it's no different here than what F1 goes through and NBA 2K goes through. I mean, everybody wants more. And they should, with the way technology is today and what you can actually pack into these games, there's always room for improvement and there's always room to do more. Our biggest challenge is essentially the prioritization of what those improvements are, what we have the time to do. And we don't want to just jump in and, try to fix 50 things on the surface. We'd much rather go in and fix 10 of them and make them really, really, really strong. And that's a difficult process because we want to do more and we're huge believers in the game and we take a lot of pride, in the work that goes on behind the scenes to get this game, to market. But part of the deal. But like I said, most of the feedback that we get is really constructive. It's very helpful. And we're spending a lot more time now listening to the community, bringing that feedback in, and making sure that we're addressing it in some way, because it is valuable to have that voice coming back from the fan.
With NASCAR Heat 4 specifically, one of the features that was announced is career mode. You're able to start in any series right off the bat without having to start in the extreme dirt. Did that come from fan feedback based on the career mode last year, or was that something already in the works?
Yeah, 100%. 100% from, I think it was something that the dev team always had in the back of their mind that, hey, it might be a little better not to have everyone have to grind through some of these seasons because, the seasonality of NASCAR and, it can be a long season. And if you're doing that times 3 or 4, it can certainly be longer. So, yes, so that was 100% from fan feedback. I think the louder that voice became, the more we bumped that up on the priority list.
With NASCAR Heat 4, one of the things that I noticed, with NASCAR Heat 3, I should say, is it seemed that in the series the damage hasn't been really well represented, damage models, and it seemed to not sit the best with the diehard fans. With NASCAR Heat 4, has there been changes, and I don't know what you can get into, but has there been changes in how vehicles take damage and just the overall scale of it all?
The damage modeling is something that we still need to work on. There have been some slight improvements to it. And there certainly has been, the effect of damage that is going to have on your vehicle certainly has been taken into account, and that will be very clear in career mode now. But that's something that we will certainly address for, I think, a little bit deeper. That's starting to become one of the louder voices, I think, out in the community as well. Is, hey, we really, I hate to say it, but fans love to see the cars get pretty smashed up on the game. And the good news is about the game is nobody gets hurt and it doesn't cost anybody any money. Well, it can cost you some money in career, but not necessarily in the real world. So we want to do that. We're actually, we've done some pre-production tests with a group, a development group, top secret development group. Can't tell you who they are. But on the damage models, because it's something that we do want to improve. And it's just, back to what I was saying before about the technology. I mean, we have the ability to make it better. We will make it better over time. It will be a little bit better in 4, especially of how it affects you throughout career. But the visual, the look and the feel of it as we move forward is something that we want to continue to address.
How does the team and how do you guys find that fine line between hyper-realism and still at the end of the day it's supposed to be a fun video game? There's simulation games. One that comes to mind is iRacing, that they go based on as if it's just a virtual real life car. It's like the flight simulator of racing. But at the same time, that's not for everybody. How do you find that fine line on making sure anybody who wants a fun racing game can get that in the NASCAR Heat series?
Yes, very, very good question. It's a balance that we try to keep. You're right. iRacing, it's very, very heavy simulation. It's a great product, but it's certainly not for everybody. We definitely pride ourselves on being more mass market, and, allowing anyone who's never raced before online or who's never played the game before to hop right in and start having some fun with it. But we are making the game, we are creating some variables inside of the game now, where it is going to start to become, based on your preference, easier and or harder to drive. So some people like to come in and they like to blow through the field and knock people out of the way. And if that's your driving style and that's your preference, then you'll have the ability to do that. If you want hyper realism to the extent that we can do it through the engines that we have, we can make it pretty difficult for you. We've made a lot of improvements to the AI, and the way they're going to drive, not only amongst themselves, but also against you. And we have a couple guys here who are QA guys. I mean, you can imagine how many times they've played the game and how many times they've actually raced on NASCAR Heat, and we've cranked it all the way up for them for the very first time. And one guy was sweating after 20 laps. I mean, he said it's the hardest it's been for him. So we'll continue to make refinements in that regard. Our goal is to have anybody hop on and be able to play it to the level that they would like. That can be very difficult and very tricky to do because you're trying to customize it for a huge audience. But having these levers, having these tuning mechanisms to allow you to do that is something that we'll continue to do as we move forward as well.
I'm speaking with Colin Smith, president of 704 Games and NASCAR Heat. Colin, one of the things too that really stands out is right before the start of every season, the last few years, the team has released the season pack. So this year was 2019 and so on and so forth. How important is that to you guys to make sure you can get that mid-year release with updated color schemes, paint schemes, updated numbers and driver rosters? Yeah,
it's something that I'm looking at actually. In particular is the proper time to release this game, right? And you've got different franchises that are out there that all seem to do it a little bit differently. For us, it is a little difficult just because of the nature of the sport, and the driver changes, the team changes, the sponsor changes. And our ability to get our hands on that licensed product in the appropriate amount of time to make sure that it's integrated into the game properly. So that's always been a little challenge, and that's the primary reason why the game launches mid-season. Then we had the playoffs, a few years ago that started, or whatever that year was from a NASCAR perspective, where the playoffs actually became a real thing. And so now we try to align ourselves with that, because that's obviously that creates a huge amount of excitement inside the sport. So piggybacking off of that is something that we like to do. But the cadence we have right now, we're okay with it. I don't think it's perfect. We would love to launch the new franchise each year at the beginning of the season. But technically and logistically there are a lot of challenges in doing that, but it's something that we're looking at very seriously. We would like to have this available in January and February around the Daytona 500. It'd be a huge buzz for us, a great time to launch the game. And then that would allow us some more time throughout the year to create some custom packs and some additional DLC. So we're looking at that. It's a little tricky, but it's something that's on our radar for sure.
Switching gears a bit, no pun intended on that one. The NASCAR Heat E-League, the E-Series, how did that really come about, and how's been how difficult, or maybe not as difficult as you thought, has it been in getting that off the ground and getting a traction of a fan base?
Well, that is also a great question. It has certainly, it actually came together a lot faster and a lot better than we thought it would. We got a really late start on it, and the support of the teams in particular to help get that off the ground, as a new tool, as a new platform, as a new way to engage, a different type of demo within the fan base has been, they've been fantastic. NASCAR as well has really leaned in on their side. They already have the Peak Series with iRacing. We now have the eNASCAR Heat Pro League, and they have a whole new eNASCAR.com site where they're publishing content and a whole new brand under eNASCAR. So they and the teams have made it very easy for us to get this off the ground. I think where we fell a little short was, I think we have essentially established a new league, right? And with that comes a lot of logistics and a lot of resources that are needed to manage all of different things that come with having a professional, gaming league. And I think we all had an idea of what we were getting ourselves into, but I don't think anybody really knew the full extent of it. So it's been, we've learned a lot in year one. We continue to learn every time we do a new race. I don't know if you've had a chance to check out one of the live streams, but how they look today versus when we first started, primarily thanks to a lot of the people at NASCAR and NASCAR Productions who are helping us put that on, has been tremendous. So we're continuing to put resources behind that. We've had a ton of interest from some external parties of how to get involved. The teams have found some success in going out and making some of their current real world sponsors, integrating them into the virtual world, and some have actually gone out and found some brand new partners to get involved in this. So everyone's a big fan of what we're doing. They're happy with the demos. They're happy with the numbers that we're starting to create around the streams. And we definitely have a long way to go, but this is just phase one. I mean, we're just getting started. And a lot of what we did in year one, this was brand new. Nobody really knew what it was that we were trying to do and how we were trying to accomplish it. So very happy with where we are today. A lot of work, definitely a lot more work needed to be done, but we are very excited about the prospects of the Pro League for sure.
And it's just, to me, it's amazing to see as a gamer first who just so happens to be a journalist, seeing the growth of esports. Like for me, the fact that I can, and I used to get ridiculed by my parents, to be honest, like, why are you watching other people play games? Now it's a multi-billion-dollar industry and it's fantastic. And now I look at my mother and go, yeah, I'm 30 years old and I still watch video games. And I get paid to talk about them. So, I mean, now who? Yeah. Couple more.
Yeah, exactly.
Couple more things before we let you go. These are more questions from the community that we asked on Twitter and Facebook. And the first question, and I get this question to ask every single interview I do, no matter who the developer is the game going to come to Nintendo Switch? Since that console launched, every sports game, every interview I've done, that question comes in at least 100 times.
Well, being a big fan of that, my son and I play it all the time. We absolutely want to see it on that platform. I can't guarantee 2020, but if it's not 2020, I would be shocked if it's not 2021.
Next question comes, why the Dirt series? When it came to the, and I'm going to kind of elaborate on this one. The question was just why the Dirt series, but when it came to creating another tier for the career mode, why did you guys decide to make it a Dirt?
Wow, that's a really good question. I would have to go back and talk to the folks who started to contemplate that a couple years ago. But as I understand it, initially there's always been talk of adding another series, and there was initially some talk about the Euro series, and I think they focused on Dirt just because of what it means to the sport and how many people came up racing on Dirt, and how they cut their teeth in the sport. I think everyone has, almost every NASCAR fan has been to a dirt track or a home track on dirt somewhere or at some point throughout their fandom. And it really does resonate with people. And now it's giving us an opportunity to do some things in the game that I don't think they ever contemplated before. For example, we've got Tony now, who is a huge fan of dirt tracks and dirt racing, Tony Stewart. And, he's involved in the game. And one of the reasons is because he's really interested in where we're trying to take that within the game. So yeah, where it came initially, that's a great question. That was a little before my time. But as I understand it, that's, it's just something, the grassroots of it all and how it ties into the overall sport. And we even have guys that are in the pro league that, have started racing, did some dirt racing on their own when they were younger. So yeah, I think that's the primary the reason why, as far as I know today, at least.
Well, Colin, I want to thank you for joining us here on the SGO Developer Spotlight. Is there anything else you want the fans to know, where they can find more information about the game, or anything you want to get off?
No, listen, I appreciate the time. Like I said, we're very proud of what we're getting ready to put out here in another month. For all updates, just head on over to NASCARHeat.com or follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We've got the new Wednesday night show called Tireside Gathering every other Wednesday at 7:30. We flip-flop that with our Pro League races, which happen on Wednesday nights as well. So a lot of information is being dropped there. That's 7:30, and we're live streaming that on Twitch, on our channel on Twitch. So yeah, please check that out as well.
Thank you, Colin, for joining me. Can't wait to get my hands on NASCAR Heat September 13th for PC, PS4, and Xbox One.
You got it. Thank you.